now is the president of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton. Tom, thanks so much for coming on this morning. I guess my first question is, it certainly looks like Christopher Wray took a look at this document, this 4-page document on Sunday, and then potentially fired Andrew McCabe yesterday. Is that what you see as probably happened here?
Well, I think the potential disclosure of information implicating Mr. McCabe, both in the memo and perhaps in the pending IG reports. There was noise about the IG report in the reports yesterday that Wray may have referenced the IG report in removing Mr. McCabe. It's this sort of thing that results sometimes in public officials leaving, and unfortunately, unless this material is made public, either the memo or the IG report, a lot of public officials who otherwise shouldn't be there are going to remain in office, and this is why you're getting the intense blowback from the Democrats and their allies in the deep state on the release of this dossier memo.
From what you've heard, from what you know, who's going to be hurt by this memo being released?
Well, generally the DOJ and the FBI. I think Director Comey has a lot to answer for here, but in the end, I think this is about the Mueller investigation. Robert Mueller is relying on this dossier to investigate President Trump and justify his investigation. And a lot of the people involved in this abuse of power during the Obama administration were also involved in setting up the Mueller operation, including the targeting, the ambush interview with General Flynn that led to his plea deal, and subsequent criminal actions, prosecution, and criminal activity, prosecutorial decisions by Mueller. This is what the FISA debate's about. The FISA memo debate is about whether Mueller's operation is legitimate or not.
Well, Tom, I want to point something out because I watched Adam Schiff last night right after they made the decision, and he was very disappointed, and I think a lot of them, including him, seem mortified about this information coming out at this point. But Chris Wray, who Schiff made a solid effort to really point out is a Trump, somebody that Trump installed in the FBI, Christopher Wray has not really been that beholden to Trump in his time in the job. He has, really defended his FBI from a lot of the president's criticism. So if he did, in fact, read this memo and then fire Andrew McCabe, that is a really big deal, because it's not like Chris Wray, the director of the FBI right now, is, under Trump's thumb by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, Mr. Wray has talked about protecting the independence of the FBI. He supposedly was pushing back against removing McCabe prior to this his removal yesterday, saying that he would resign rather than fire McCabe beforehand. Mr. Wray is. I think one of the concerns I have is that the FBI director only acts when pushed, and I think we know there was going to be disclosures that would have required Mr. McCabe's recusal or removal, and that's why Wray took these steps. And I have to wonder why he waited so long. Was it only the politics of it, or was it because there was something seriously new that he found?
Right.
Judicial Watch several months ago found that McCabe was compromised. He had a conflict of interest in the Clinton investigation. He was involved anyway. He recused himself only a week before the election, and he used his FBI accounts at the government to promote his wife's campaign. All the info requiring his removal or justifying his removal has been out there for months. Mr. Wray is a little late to the game, but better late than never.
Well, look, we've all seen a number of the text messages between Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, but now Judicial Watch has revealed the FBI refusing to turn over texts from newly removed Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. So I guess the question is, what's the connection now, the connection that we're all wondering and we don't know about between McCabe, Strzok, and Lisa Page as far as text messages go?
Yeah, we sued for text messages of McCabe, and the FBI gave us documents but no text messages, and we had good reason to believe the text messages exist. Did they all disappear? We see in that the Peter Strzok, Lisa Page text messages, there's a reference to a meeting in Andy McCabe's office, and subsequently they talked about having this insurance policy, which is really outrageous, against President Trump in case he was elected. There are a lot of questions remaining about Mr. McCabe, so the fact that he retired or resigned or was pushed out should not stop the disclosures about what he was up to at the FBI from coming out. And I think Mr. Wray owes it to the American people to fully explain why it is Mr. McCabe is no longer number 2. Because if he was removed for improprieties or abuses of power, we need to know that now. Because if McCabe if McCabe engaged in this misconduct or any misconduct, we want to know who else to hold responsible.
Yeah. That's a fascinating story, and you guys over at Judicial Watch have done a fantastic job. And Tom, thanks so much for coming on early all these days to explain it to us. We really do appreciate it. All right, you guys. President Trump.
He's integrity. Hopefully Pizzagate's coming next. Draining the swamp.